They called him the man who had it all. A billionaire CEO with skyscrapers in his name, fleets of cars, private jets, and a mansion so big it could house a village. But every night, when the parties ended and the camera stopped flashing, Michael sat alone in silence, staring at an old photograph of a young woman. Tears slid down his powerful face as he whispered into the emptiness. "Grace, why did I let you go?" The world saw a king. But inside, he was just a broken man who once traded love for power, only to realize too late that love was the only treasure worth keeping. Michael wasn't born into wealth. He came from a one-room home in a noisy neighborhood, where the roof leaked every rainy season and hunger was a frequent guest. His father was a carpenter whose hands were rough with splinters, and his mother a tired woman who sold vegetables at the market from dawn till dusk. Michael often lay awake at night, listening to his parents argue over money, and vowed, "One day, I'll make sure no one in my family suffers again. I'll be rich. I'll be powerful. I'll build an empire." That dream burned in him like fire. But even fire needs air. And Michael found his air in Grace. Grace was not wealthy, not glamorous. She was the daughter of a schoolteacher, known in the community for her gentle smile and kind words. Michael met her when he was just 17, frustrated after failing an exam. She found him sitting by the roadside with his head buried in his hands. She sat beside him, offering a piece of roasted corn. "You look like you need this more than I do." Michael chuckled through his tears. From that day, she became his calm in every storm. Grace didn't just love him, she believed in him. When his first little business failed, she held his hands and whispered, "Michael, your story isn't over. One day, people will know your name. Don't give up." She became his anchor, his confidant, his reason to keep moving. And under the shade of a mango tree, they often sat, dreaming of a small home, children running in the yard, and a life built on love, not riches. But as time passed, Michael's dreams grew bigger. He started a small company, working late nights, skipping meals, chasing deals. And slowly, the company took root. Investors came. Contracts rolled in. Michael began climbing the ladder of success. But success comes with a price. Family members whispered, "Michael, you can't marry Grace. She's just a teacher's daughter. A CEO needs a wife from a powerful family. Someone who boosts your image." Board members dropped hints, "The people you surround yourself with reflect your brand. Investors want to see you with class." At first, Michael resisted. He argued, "Grace is my strength. She was there when I had nothing." But the voices grew louder, echoing in his head. And slowly, doubt began to poison his love. Grace noticed the change. He became distant, distracted. Meetings replaced their walks, phone calls replaced their laughter. One evening, under the same mango tree where they once dreamed, she asked, her voice trembling, "Michael, do you still see me in your future?" Michael opened his mouth but no words came. His silence spoke louder than anything he could have said. Grace's eyes filled with tears. She forced a small smile. "One day, you realize success means nothing without love." And with that, she walked away. Michael stood frozen. His heart screamed to run after her, to hold her, to beg her not to leave. But pride chained his feet. That night, Michael chose ambition over love. And it was the choice that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Years flew by. Michael became a giant in the business world. His name glittered on billboards, his interviews trended worldwide, his net worth soared into billions. But with every rise, his heart sank deeper into emptiness. He bought mansions, but none felt like home. He filled his garages with cars, but every ride felt lonely. He dated models, celebrities, wealthy women, but none of them stayed. None could replace Grace. He often scrolled through his old box of memories, letters Grace had written, pressed flowers they once picked, even the corn husks from that first day. Sometimes, after closing a $1 million deal, he would sit in his office, hold her old photo, and whisper, "I made it, Grace. Just like you said." But why doesn't it feel like victory? The world clapped for him. But applause is empty when your heart is broken. On his 50th birthday, Michael threw a grand party. The guest list was a who's who of business and politics. Cameras flashed, laughter echoed, glasses clinked. Yet, in the middle of the noise, Michael felt hollow. At midnight, when the last guest left, he sat at the massive dining table alone. Dozens of untouched dishes lay before him. He poured himself wine with trembling hands and whispered, "What is all this for, if I can't share it with her?" For the first time in decades, the mighty CEO wept like a child, his sobs echoing in the empty hall. The next morning, something inside him snapped. Money, power, fame, none of it mattered anymore. He wanted one thing only: Grace. He drove himself, without chauffeurs or guards, back to the small village where their story began. The roads were dusty, the shops small, but each corner carried a memory. Finally, he reached her old street. His heart pounded. Would she still be there? Would she forgive him? And then, he saw her. Grace stood outside her little house, hanging clothes to dry. Her hair was streaked with grey, her hands rough with work. But her smile was the same. For a moment, Michael couldn't breathe. He stepped out of the car, his legs shaking. Grace froze, staring at him. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, "Michael." He rushed forward, dropped to his knees before her, and sobbed. "I had everything, Grace. Wealth, power, the whole world, except you. Forgive me. Please, forgive me." Grace's hands trembled as she cupped his face. Her voice cracked, but her eyes were soft. "For 20 years, Michael. I waited. Because I knew one day you'd understand." In that moment, the empire builder realized he had been the poorest man in the world because he had lived without love. Michael stayed in the village for weeks, walking with Grace through the old paths, eating roasted corn by the roadside, sitting under the mango tree. He rediscovered laughter, simplicity, and the warmth of a hand in his. When he finally brought her to his mansion, he didn't hide her. He didn't call her a guest. Standing before his board, his employees, and the press, he held her hand and declared, "This is Grace, the only woman who ever made me truly rich." The cameras flashed. The world clapped. But Michael didn't hear them. He only heard the quiet heartbeat of the woman beside him, the only sound that mattered. From then on, Michael changed. He still ran his empire, but he no longer chased applause. He spent evenings with Grace, mornings walking in gardens, nights whispering apologies and thank yous under the stars. He had built skyscrapers, but it was the gentle love of one woman that finally filled the emptiness in his soul. And as he looked into Grace's eyes, he whispered the words he had carried for decades. "I had everything, except you. But now, Grace, now I finally have it all." The world will remember him as a billionaire, a genius CEO, a man who conquered industries. But Michael knew the truth. His real legacy was not the wealth he built, but the love he almost lost, and was blessed to find again. Because in the end, success is nothing if you don't have someone to share it with.